Hello, lovelies. Thanks for joining Hearthside Story Corner. Today we will be continuing our voyage together with Birdling in Part 5 of The Cruise of the Little Dipper by Susanne Langer. So sit back and enjoy this animated story with me.
It was night before they reached the Little Dipper. She looked very forlorn, lying a bit sideways, sails furled and decks covered with sand. Worst of all, a whole brotherhood of shrimps had set up housekeeping in her hold, and not even at the point of Bumble's bayonet would they move out. They wore little coats of mail that made them quite indifferent to a mere bumblebee's sting. "But you must move out," pleaded Birdling, standing on the deck and shouting down into the hold. "I want to go to the Fairy Islands, and I simply must have my ship." "Going to the Fairy Islands?" echoed the shrimps. "That's a long trip without food or water aboard and without a crew." "Oh, we'll lay in food and water soon enough," said Bumble, who sat in the rigging. "As for a crew—" "Let us be the crew," cried the shrimps. "We're not clever, but we're really very obedient and faithful. We don't want to spoil your trip, Birdling, but we don't want to move either. There are very few houses along the beach and none as nice as this. Let us be your crew." "But then I'll have to pay you," said Birdling, "and I have no money. Shall I pay you with music? I'll whistle one tune for every shrimp once a week." "It's a bargain," replied the crew. All night long, Bumble flew to and fro between the witch hazel bushes on the hill and the boat upon the beach, carrying fairy bread and honeydew for the voyage. The crew packed all these provisions into big barnacles that made splendid kegs and barrels. Birdling was brave enough to go back along the beach by moonlight and pick up the mullein leaf blankets he had dropped when he fled from the cat. And at the crack of dawn the Little Dipper was ready to put to sea. They cleared the harbor and, with the outgoing tide, floated out upon the ocean. Bumble flew above the mast and accompanied them for several miles. 2 fiddler crabs came to the edge of the beach and fiddled until the good ship was out of sight, and Birdling stood at the bow with the great green sail blowing behind him. At last everybody shouted, "Goodbye, goodbye, good luck, thank you, thank you." Then the Little Dipper sailed out of sight. For 3 days they journeyed, always pointing their course to eastward, but they did not know just where to look for the Fairy Islands. Sometimes a flock of birds would fly above them, also going eastward, but they flew so fast that it was never possible to follow and learn their path. On the 4th day, just as the pink dawn spread over the sky, Birdling saw a whole fleet of tiny sails. They were no bigger than his own, but they were pearly white and shimmered with lovely colors, so he knew they must be Nautilus ships. "Hey ho!" he shouted, catching up to them. "Hey ho! Hey ho!" The Nautilus ships have deep, deep holds with many little cabins in them. When he shouted, a whole troop of fairy sailors came popping out to see who had called to them. "Hey ho!" they replied. "Where are you going?" asked Birdling. "To the Fairy Islands." "Take me along?" "With pleasure," said the fairies. "Who are you?" "I'm Birdling, and the shrimps are my crew." The Little Dipper was surrounded by the ships of pearl, and as the sea was quiet and the wind very low, they could talk from deck to deck. The oldest one of the fairy captains was a brownie named Trick.
Thanks again, lovelies. That is the end of our story time today. Please like and subscribe to join me for Part 6 of The Cruise of the Little Dipper, coming soon, and have a magical day. Goodbye.